Brick by brick, you get your boy Big Wall. And you already know what type of time I'm on. You know the vibes when I got the big homie P.stock next to me. You know what's going on. We here to address the culture. What's going on with you, B?
It's time to address the culture. That's what we do, man. Welcome back, man. I mean, your absence, that energy and everything else, we held it down, but
Yeah.
it's not the same without Big Wall.
Oh
I
man,
mean
look.
that intro, and I'm sure Darren will tell you the same thing here shortly. We'll be telling you.
Look, man, hey, it's good to be back and feel like I'm home, man. Shouts out to everybody, T-Bone, all the dope shows we had holding it down for the team, for the kid while I've been out, man. But it's good to be back.
Yes.
The shows that we've been having and everything that's been going on been amazing. And today is no different. We got an amazing show. We got somebody that pretty much solidifies what we do on this platform. When we talk about growth, development, taking the whatever culture you're a part of and taking it to the highest level. And that's what our guest did on this platform. Took it from the dojo to Hollywood. You know what I'm saying?
Hollywood, and that's how they do it. He set a goal young. He was already into the martial arts and boxing and everything, and then he always wanted to be in the movies, and he accomplished it. He's on. He's doing what he set out to do, and with some incredible people, some of his idols and people. So that he's fulfilling his, lifelong dream in Hollywood. Making it happen. That's big. You right here. And definitely subscribe, share, like, comment, because we bringing it. We ain't giving you no smoke. We giving you the real. We ain't ducking at all.
Ducking
all right here. We ain't ducking at all. It's right here, all of it, on Address the Culture.
Shouts out to everybody that's been tuning in too. You know what I mean? We really appreciate the platform, the culture gang in the building. You already know the vibes. Tapping in with us, man. Giving us your feedback. Giving us everything, your energy. We appreciate it, man. We global.
That's right.
We got so many amazing things going on. We got some amazing interviews coming. We got a lot going on, man. So we appreciate everybody tapping in with us. You know what I mean? From just all across the world. You know what I mean? When we talk about addressing the culture, we're not talking about nothing specific. We're talking about global activity. And that's the energy that we've been getting. So we appreciate everybody for holding us down and representing and helping grow the platform. You know what I mean?
That's right. We appreciate you because it wouldn't be possible without y'all. And we bring these shows, to address the culture with some people that you might not. We hope that, you get it, with the martial arts series and the artists. And now, we're moving up with people that's doing both. They're acting, they're doing martial arts. So we coming to that phase. It's growing, and we appreciate you. Thanks for the support for all the viewers, the FMA family and everybody that's tapping in. Let's tap in. Let's go.
Look, and speaking about tapping, that's what we're going to do today. You know what I'm saying? We got a big dog in the building, you know what I'm saying, who have worked with the likes of Arnold, Jean-Claude Van Damme, Sylvester Stallone, Mario Van Peebles, Mike Tyson, you name it. He's done it. Steven, what's my man?
Steven
Seagal. You know what I'm talking about?
I mean, he was in Jersey Boys. If you've seen Jersey Boys, he had a small part in there, but it was just his factor. That was a Clint Eastwood movie. So, and that's an interesting. A portfolio and a filmography that he put together that he's in. But it's big, man. And it's a pleasure.
Yeah. So tune in, strap in. We're gonna hear a lot of stories. We're gonna get a lot of feedback when we talk about just growing your culture from the, like I said, the dojo to Hollywood. So we're gonna hear a lot, we're gonna see a lot, and this is gonna be one of those interviews that you need to tap in. Of course, we got our tour guide. We got T-Bone in the building. You know what I mean?
Grandmaster.
You know the vibes.
He's in the building, and that's the way it goes down. That's the way it goes. Or just the culture.
So look, you know what we like to do. We like to pay our bills around these parts. You know what I'm talking about? And that's what
right.
we're gonna do. We're gonna take us a little pause for the cause, pay a few bills, and me and Pstock gonna be right back to do what we do best, y'all. We're gonna adjust the culture.
I set up 10 bricks, and then I put a cinder block on the top of the 10 bricks.
I remember.
And then underneath, I put down 2 cartons of 12 eggs on each side, so 24 eggs total. And so the trick was it wasn't breaking the brick, getting on the raw eggs without smashing the raw eggs. So I was putting my weight on both of the eggs. And so what I did is I set my hand on top, slap the center bricks, split the center bricks, break all 10 bricks, without breaking the eggs that I was standing on.
Wow.
People started to think that small circle jiu-jitsu included the striking, which was, and the striking was the part that I brought into it during that time. When I came back home, that's when I ended up developing small circle jiu-trap boxing. I don't know if you were aware, but Grandmaster Jay and Bruce Lee were very, very close. And they were close to the point that Bruce used to come to Grandmaster Jay's house, and they would talk stories and theories and so forth and so on. And when I got to it was at Alameda High School in the auditorium. And when I got to the auditorium, he had all the pictures up of everybody that ever trained with Grandmaster Jay but mine.
Wow.
There was no picture of me to be seen at all.
And you said you trained up under him for
35 years.
35 years.
And so he would say that our fist is like the nuclear bomb. It's very dangerous. It's very powerful. We have to have great respect for it. And we also need to cover it with love. And make sure that we're not being braggarts and boastful.
I look at a lot of the generation now, they talk about you gotta respect me, you gotta respect me. But they don't know how to give respect.
They don't know how to give respect. No.
Put some respect on my name is what they say. Put some respect on my name is what they say.
Yeah. Back.
Yeah,
man, bro, it's good to see you, Tom Big Long Capone.
What's going on with you, man? How you doing, T-Bone?
Man. Oh man, this is gonna be a great show. You know, we got James Bennett on the show today, and going back before COVID, 2019, and it's ironically that the Doc Dan Heck, you know, we filmed him on the show. And, you know, in regards to the Masters Hall of Fame. But going back to Costa Mesa 2019, before COVID hit, I did the Masters Hall of Fame seminars. And my time came up, and I walked up, and a good-sized group came up to train. And James Bennett walked up to me, and before I knew him, I've never met James Bennett before. And he had told me, you know, Danny and Asando told me to check out your class, you know. So I'm coming, and, you know, I want to learn, you know. And I didn't know who James Bennett was at the time, okay? It was after the seminar, we connected on Facebook, you know, and then he hit me up, and he says, hey, Danny would like you to come on out to Bahala Na yearly function in honor of Danny and Asando and Bahala Na, late Grandmaster Leo Jerome. And I said, I've never been to it, but I'd be honored to, you know, stop on by. And they coordinated this event for us to come in at the end of the show. And it was actually one of the first time I've seen Sifu dance since I was a little kid. You know, you got to understand my parents, my uncles, you know, my mom and dad, they grew up with Danny. You know, Stockton's still a small place, and you're talking about the 1940s, you know, 30s, 40s. The Filipino community was very close-knit, And a lot of them, they played sports within their churches, the schools that were largely Filipino. And all the kids of that era grew up together. So a lot of my family grew up with Danny Inosanto, and he was the pride of Stockton, the guy that was in the movies of Bruce Lee. As a young kid growing up, to see Danny die in a film with Bruce, it hurt a lot of us Filipino kids' feelings, man. Oh man, Danny died.
Yeah.
So, it was James Bennett that made a connection for me and my crew, my son, to show up and get to meet Danny. And, after a long seminar, and I know there was a lot of folks standing in line wanting to take pictures and get autographs with Danny, we came up before anybody could get autographs. And Danny started asking about my uncles, my dad, and talking history about some of my uncles and their fight careers, and some of their fathers' fight careers went in boxing like 400 fights. This is an era of Filipino, they call them smoker fighters. And Danny's history on the fight game and boxing, he knew it by heart. And so he gave me a breakdown while everybody's all sweaty in the back watching us talk and just chat it up. But at the same time, a lot of people were looking at like, hey, man, T-Bone knows Sifu Dad?
Right.
Well, he came up in Stockton and went to school with my family, my dad, my mom, So what James Bennett brought together, it was an opportunity for me to meet a man that I used to see at family get-togethers, barbecues, stuff like that, just a little kid. Hey, man, see him? That's Danny. Yeah, man, he trains with Bruce Lee, and we'd run up to him, look at him, tap his shoulder, run off. But, me being a martial artist today, I could say this, and I remember it. I remember Danny picking me up and throwing me in the air. You have a hard time doing that today, man. I'm a big dude, right? But how many people can say that? Hey, man, when I was a little kid, Danny used to grab me and throw me in the air. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the Filipino community, the Calibo family, my auntie, and the connection of the family provided that opportunity, and some of the old Fonz get-togethers. My dad has pictures, Danny and my Uncle Frank, they all got their arm around each other. These are guys coming back that knew each other in grammar school. And that's the beauty of Stockton, it's the beauty, of the Filipino community, and the makeup of Stockton, California. But I owe a great deal, to James Bennett for connecting and creating that opportunity before COVID hit, and I thank James for that. But, then again, he's here on the show today. We could talk about, his life, what inspired him. And, he's played in so many movies, bro.
Yeah.
He's everywhere, And
heavy hitters.
That's awesome.
Heavy hitters.
That's
Heavy
awesome.
hitters, yeah.
That is awesome. So I would love to hear his story and what inspired him to, first of all, be a martial artist. But where the martial arts has taken this man, to so many movies, But, watching...
Because arguably, that's the pinnacle, right?
Yeah.
In that field, like, that's where that's the end game, so to speak, to reach the heights.
But how you think I felt though, guys? Here's a guy that did my seminar. He enjoyed it, got back with me, and it wasn't until we friended on Facebook, and I started seeing his photos coming up on Facebook with Van Damme and Schwarzenegger and all these actors, right? I was like, oh my goodness, that's who he is. I thought I recognized him in film,
Yeah.
But he's such a personable guy, hard worker. As you can see, he's in great shape. And evidently, man, he's a go-getter. Okay?
Yeah.
So, to get to that level, you got to be unique. You got to be special. So to have him on the show, Hey, bro, it's an honor to have him on this show. You know?
Yeah.
It's an honor to see him again. You know?
That's huge. Yes.
Definitely.
Well, look, it's nothing else to say. You know what I mean? We're going to take us a quick break, and we're going to be back with the man himself. You already know the vibe. Big Wall, Pstock, Pstock, T-Bone. We here to address the culture, man. You already know the vibes. Let's go.
Oh, brother, it's good to see you, man. It's good to see you.
What's going on, y'all? It's your girl, Lady Luck, and I'm here with the homie Big Wall, and you are now tuned in to Address the Culture, where we're addressing everything in the culture. Keep it locked.
We got Lady Luck in the building. Welcome to Address the Culture. Who do you hear yourself most likely collabing with? You know what I'm saying? You feel like you can get on the same type of time with the game.
Anybody.
Let's work.
So I work 7 days a week, and my like I don't have no real job. Like, you know, music is my work. So I was in everybody's DM at one point. Like, what? When I first broke up with my ex, like, 2018, 2019, I was out of control.
What's going on with you? How you doing?
It's our first episode, and I got my drink ready to go.
You know what I mean? James on number 9 going crazy.
I'm just really proud of it. I'm getting a lot of good, great feedback.
So when I was in the group Dream, I was a teenager. We were surrounded by a lot of toxicity. So
all hell breaks loose. You don't have to explain as to why you didn't do, or why you didn't do this, or why you didn't do that.
And it was because of my husband standing there as my pillar of strength. That would be, the ultimate is to have my life back.
There he is.
Hey, back.
Hi, guys. How are you?
Good.
James Bennett.
Good.
Thanks for coming through. Thanks for coming through Address the Culture, man.
Thank you for having me. That's one hell of an introduction. I just hope I can live up to the intro. I'm not sure I can live up to that one.
Yeah. You know, I love this show because of those introductions, too. You know, it kind of like warms you up. It gets you into it. You know, everything. But understand that's Tone Big Wall singing that song, man. That's him.
Yeah, that's him.
Yeah. Thank you. You know what I mean? We work. Hey, we like to roll out the Address the Culture red carpet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're going to get your flowers today, man. Look, we thank you for coming through with us, man, telling your story, addressing the culture, man. Because you've done so many amazing things in this culture, for the culture, you know what I mean? And we just want to talk about it. So look, we're not going to waste no time. We're not going to hold no punches, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're going to start at the very beginning because you have such a long, lustrous career. We're going to start it from the beginning, man. Tell us about yourself and tell us how you started off on your journey.
Well, I grew up in Ireland. I grew up in a small town about 28 miles northeast of Dublin called Trim. It's actually the same town Braveheart was filmed in. And I started doing martial when I was very up island, causing problems and fighting and stuff like that. I was very active. I wasn't a geeky kind of kid. I was more like a physical kid. And so I started doing martial arts when I was very young. I started in Kempo Karate in the Trim Kempo Karate Academy. And I started under an instructor called Tom Gorman. And then later there was Darren McGee, Jarvis Cullen, and Bernard Reynolds. They ran that club. And then I kind of, that club kind of was a part-time club. It was a very serious club, but it was not a full-time academy. It was like a couple of days a week. And then I moved on to Ed Downey in Selbridge, and he has a full-time academy, and I've been with him ever since I was very young. And then, you know, that was camp. That's the Ed Parker American Kempo, which the Trim Kempo was Ed Parker American Kempo too, but it was the Ed Parker American Kempo with a Japanese twist to it. Ed Downey was teaching the authentic, original Ed Parker, real American Kempo, because he would come X amount of months of the year and spend the time here with Mr. Parker in the 80s, you know, and all that stuff. And then he had Mr. Parker in Ireland and so on and so forth. And he had a full-time academy. In fact, it's still the same academy today. It's, for example, he was not shy to allow us to teach, to learn from other instructors. So he brought in Jeff Speakman. He was his Irish representative for a number of years. Mr. John Sepulveda, who is still Mr. Downey's instructor, because Mr. Downey sought him out as an instructor after Mr. Parker passed away. And Mr. Sepulveda was one of Mr. Parker's black belts. So, you know, I'm very happy, because later on when I would come to America, I noticed a lot of instructors didn't want their students, you know, to go do a seminar with another instructor. Mm-hmm. And I got in trouble a few times because I would invite people to come to such a seminar. I didn't mean anything in it, but they got offended because they didn't want their student going to another instructor seminar, and, you know, so on and so forth. And, you know, then with time with Kempo, you know, I was doing jiu-jitsu, you know, I did some judo. I boxed all along from when I was very young in Ireland as well. And then you know, I came to America. First came to America in '95 for the Long Beach Internationals. And that's when I met Frank Trejo. Yeah. And Frank Trejo ran the Ed Parker Kempo School in Pasadena for many years. And Mr. Downey introduced me to him, and I actually stayed with him for the period of time I was here, and he taught me a lot of Kempo. And we remained very good friends, and he would come over to my academy here in West LA and teach me on privates and stuff. And fortunately, he passed away 4 years ago, but he was a tremendous man. Yeah. You know, and you know, then out of the blue, I said, you know, I was always a big fan of Guru Dan Inosanto. You know, because even when I was in Ireland, when I was a kid, he was in all the magazine covers. I knew him from Game of Movie and Chinese action movie aficionado. I have a big collection of those. I know a lot about that stuff, so I was well aware. So out of the blue, I wish I did it sooner. I started training with Guru Inosanto, and you know, I have to say, if there's two people I met in my life that are very inspirational and they will affect me in a positive way till the day I die, is Ed Downey, who is my Kempo instructor from Ireland, and Guru Inosanto. Yeah. They're very unique individuals. If you took the martial arts out of the scenario, they'd still be fabulous human beings. You know what I'm saying? You know, and you know, when you talk to Mr. Downey or you talk to Guru Inosanto, they're the most humble people. You know, and then I learned a lot from Guru Inosanto on how to look at things differently from a martial arts standpoint, because he teaches such an array of arts. And not only does he teach a bunch of different martial arts, it goes on, you know, he's so knowledgeable, he's so skillful, he's a historian, he knows this stuff like no other. And you know, he actually is a really excellent teacher. You know, he's not somebody who knows martial arts and is passing it on. He's somebody who knows how to teach martial arts. And there's not a lot of people that can actually, a lot of people can show you something. There's not too many people can teach you something. There's not as many. And, you know, training with Guru Inosanto made my Kempo better. You know, and being a Kempo guy originally, which Mr. Inosanto was as well, actually made my Kali better as I progressed in the Filipino martial arts. I was able to pick it up quite fast because Kempo is very elusive. It's not like a rigid Japanese style where everything's very mechanical and then you really got to deprogram yourself and reprogram yourself. Kempo is very fluent and powerful, like the Filipino martial arts. It's very, you adjust very fast. It's not really mechanical. It's all about flow, you know, and power where power should be and speed where speed should be. So, you know, from when I was very young in Ireland, I was teaching as well. I was teaching from when I was about 12 years old. And Guru Inosanto had said something to me a few years ago, and he said it to me once by himself, and then he mentioned it in the class as well numerous times. The best way to learn something is to teach it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the best way to make it better is to teach it. Yeah. And if you want to know how good you are as a teacher, find somebody and bring them from the beginning, and that, you know, you'll know where you're at. And it's it's very resonating, you know, the way he says things, and he's essentially right about everything he says. And yeah, I'm just so happy that I had the privilege to you know, to meet him and have an opportunity to train at his academy in Marina. And, you know, he's just a phenomenal person, you know, and think about it. He's 86, 85. He'll be 86 soon. And he's just in tremendous shape. He trains every day himself. He teaches every day. I mean, he's really an example to look up to, you know. I mean, to be in the shape that he's in for his age, and just going the way he's going, it's fabulous, and God bless him. Yeah, I mean, him and Simo have built a fabulous business. And it's really a great academy, good atmosphere, and you learn a lot of different martial arts. And, you know, it's through him I found out about your Grandmaster, Darren, Grandmaster Cabales.
Yeah.
And in 2019 there was I think it was the awards event. Yeah, and there was a Kempo. There was a Kempo right. There was a Kempo seminar on, and I did that. And I think you were on after, or were you on before?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was on after.
Yeah, I think you were on after, and then I took that class, and I actually partnered with Dan Medina.
Yes.
Yes.
Dan Medina, DeRobio.
Yeah, DeRobio. Yeah, and I really liked what Grandmaster Darren was teaching, and, you know, then I traveled to. Was that was yes, that was in July 2019. Then I traveled to Stockton. I traveled to Stockton for Guru's seminar in August 2019.
Yes.
That's when you came to the event. Yeah.
That was a huge event for me, because it's the first time I seen Guru dance since I was a little kid.
December, I believe, right, for your September, you're telling me, yeah. And then he got right in asking you about your family. I remember that.
Yes.
James, your picture froze.
Yeah, you froze up, man.
Right?
You froze up. You might have to go out and come back in.
Am I frozen?
The studio, then pop back in.
No,
now you are.
Now you're good.
Yeah, it just got to catch up.
Yeah, it got to catch up with some latency.
Oh, okay. Hold on.
No, you good now.
You're good. Yeah.
We're good.
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah, you're good now.
And then so that's the martial arts end of things in a nutshell. And then when I was very young, I always wanted to be in movies. And
okay, wait, before we get into the movies, you know what I mean? Let's talk about the martial art aspect with you and Darren. You guys seem to have great mentors. You talked about a couple. You talked about Angel Cabales for T-Bone. When you talk about you guys as mentors, what did both of you guys learn from each of those mentors, and that has kept you going and moving in the future as far as making decisions when you're talking about just evolving the martial arts world?
Okay, Darren, you want to go first?
It cut out a couple of times. I couldn't really hear it clearly, but you know, I think he mentioned the future. Is that what you said, Tom Big Wall?
Yeah, as far as you guys as mentors, you know what I mean? James spoke about a couple mentors, and I know your mentor, Angel Cabales. Like, what did you guys both learn from those mentors that has helped you in the future as far as martial arts?
Okay, now
for the, you know what I mean, for the culture as we speak.
Yeah, now looking at the makeup of Stockton, California, you know, like Grandmaster Angel Cabales, 1966. He opened up the first commercial Filipino martial art academy. But when you look at the old photos, you see Sifu Dan, the late Sifu Richard Bustillo. You see, you know, all these great icons, late Grandmaster Leo Fong. You know, we're talking about one school with so many people that became such huge icons. in the martial arts sector, you know. And, you know, we take pride in Stockton, the Bahalana School, Jerome system, Kabbalah, Serrata, Eskrima, the late Gilbertino, you know, the whole makeup of Stockton and the systems that grew from the 60s era. But, you know, when you look at the students like Sifu Dan and where he went in the martial arts sector, you know, and as one of the most, I say, versatile martial artists one could ever really see. And at the fact that he's still going strong at 86 years old, you got to take your hat off to him, okay? And, you know, I have so many relatives that never even got to the 70s, much less the 80s. You know, my dad's still alive, and he grew up with Sifu Dan, you know. And I wish my dad was as active as Sifu Dan, but, you know, a lot of jobs that a lot of Filipinos had to take. They weren't fortunate nor wealthy, you know. They had to take hard labor jobs, such as my father. And, you know, he wanted to be a fighter, too. He wanted to be a boxer, but influenza took that from my dad. He ended up at Bret Hart Hospital while he was shooting for Olympic boxing. So, you know, a lot of dreams for a lot of Filipinos, first American-born generation Filipinos like Sifu Dan, you know, they wanted to be great at something. But it's an honor to have somebody like Sifu Dan that came from Stockton and what he represents. And he's worldwide, you know, the whole connection with the late Bruce Lee, you know, and what he did with the art, you know. It's a beautiful thing, man. But, you know, like I said, you know, us Filipino kids, even second generation Philippine-born Americans, such as myself, you know, we didn't have many heroes back then.
Yeah, right.
When it popped on television, you know. Yeah. So, you know, Bruce Lee was a lot of our idols. Yeah. And, of course, Sifu Dan was, too, a lot of our idols. Because, first of all, he was from Stockton, California, you know. And that was great for us growing up as kids, you know, during that time in the late 60s, mid-70s, when Bruce's movies came out along with Sifu Dan, you know, and a lot of in these movies. It gave us great pride. Being Filipino and having men like that, you know, in the big screen, you know, they were heroes at the time. Yeah. But, you know, looking back at the late Grandmaster Angel Cabales and the many people that he had the opportunity to share his knowledge with, you know, we as students of the late Grandmaster try to continue that tradition. Absolutely. Of teaching what the late Grandmaster Angel Cabales taught, you know. From 66, and he passed away 1991, March 3rd. So, you know, it's over 31 years now. The late Grandmaster Angel Cabales has been gone. But, you know, guys like Sifu Dan are still alive. They're out there. They're still pushing. They're moving, doing what they love to do. And I believe all of us martial artists and all of us that are getting up in age, I believe the martial arts and teaching. And I heard James Bennett say that. You know, you learn an art when you can teach an art. Absolutely. And you know, Angel told me that after I finished my master's training. He said, Daron, you get relative or one of your very good friends, and everything you learn, make sure you teach it. You teach it, you remember it. And not only that, you learn it even better when you teach it. Yeah. So, you know, I like what you know, James Bennett had to say about that, you know, from one of his teachers. So, yes, I can relate to that. And it keeps us young in teaching the art, training the art.
Keeps it fresh,
I hope at 86, you know, I can move like Sifu Dan. Yeah. You know?
All of us.
He's still whooping butts up there, training. Yeah, that's...
Well, you know, you have great men like Jack LaLanne. We all know Jack LaLanne. You know? He's a special person at his age doing things that a lot of guys couldn't do. Well, you know, Sifu Dan's one of those guys. He's 86, and he's still teaching and loving what he's doing. So, you know, hats off to him and what he contributed in the martial art world and in the FMA world and everything else he's done, because it definitely put Stockton on the map. You know, him honoring, you know, the masters from Stockton. You know, so yeah, yes, definitely. So James, when you brought me and my small crew to the Bahalana function featuring Sifu Dan, it was fabulous. It really was, you know, and to get to meet him that way, at the same time, talk about my family and being asked by Sifu Dan, hey, man, how's your dad? How's your uncles? But, you know, some of the relatives he mentioned, he didn't realize nor know some of them did pass away. So I was able to tell Sifu Dan that, yes, you know, some of them have passed away. He asked about my uncle Sleepy Caballero, who was a fighter. And, yeah, he passed away. Matter of fact, about a year before I seen Sifu Dan. So, and I let him know my Uncle David passed away, too. You know, my Uncle Frank. My dad's still alive, you know, and he's the only one left now is my father. So, you know, out of a big Filipino family, first generation American born Filipinos, you know, from the T-Bone family, there ain't many left of the old first generation Sifu Dan's age. So, you know, like I said, you know, I look at my father and all my uncles that have passed away. Then I see Sifu Dan teaching at 86. That's inspiring. It really is inspiring. And us guys that are, let's say, 20 years younger than Sifu Dan, or let's say maybe 15 years younger, 20 years, I hope we can be in that shape when we're 86 years old. Okay? And so he's inspiring in many ways. You know, and age has a lot to do with it. You know, a lot of us say, man, I don't move like I did when I was in my 20s, you know. So, yeah, you know, to see what he's doing is pretty remarkable, you know. Matter of fact, James, when you do see him, tell him I said hello and much respect to him, okay? Next time you see Sifu Dan.
For sure. I'd be happy to be my pleasure, yeah. For sure. Yeah.
James, how about you?
Yeah.
What was your question again?
Darren caught some wind. Good stuff.
Yeah, can you refresh me on the question, please?
Just when we're speaking about your mentors, because you talked about them, the masters that helped you. You spoke about two of them. What did you learn from them moving forward that has influenced just the way you teach, just the way you live as far as just moving the culture forward?
Apply to life.
Well, I think what I've learned personally is like I've learned a lot, and not only have I learned the skill that I have, but you learn a lot from, like, when, for example, when I do a seminar or I do a private lesson or I do a class with Ed Downey, my Kempo instructor. I've known him since I was very young. He's like the father to me. You learn a lot. One of the first things he taught me when I was very young, and it's so true. You know, I don't know, I was upset about something. And, you know, I'm a little intense sometimes. I'm far from a perfect human being. But, you know, I was upset. I don't remember what it was I was upset about. And I was kind of like, I don't know, something. And he said, Jimmy, listen to me. He said, a handshake and a smile will open any door for you. Being tough will open none. That's what Ed Downey, and he told me that in 95. And, you know, it makes sense in the moment. You know, you're old enough at that point to you know, get the grasp of, you know, I wasn't as philosophical. I didn't probably study quite as much as I do now then, because I was a lot younger.
Yeah.
But for the last number of years, I train hard, and I'm OCD when because my father brought me up. He always said, you're either doing something, you're either in or you're out. If you're kind of doing it and you're not doing it, then you're neither in nor out. You're wasting your time, you're wasting your effort, you're wasting your money, and it's just a whole waste of time. So I always, when I go into something, I go in very intensely. But that works for me. That doesn't work for some people. And in the past, in my experience, some people don't get it, that I'm just intense about learning. I'm not actually mad at anybody. I'm not actually upset at anybody. I'm just my head is I'm just intense. I'm listening. I'm watching everything. I can, you know, when I would listen to Guru Dan, I'd be so honed in on what he'd be saying when he's teaching that even with 200-300 people in a hallway, I'd be able to pick out a word he said in the science or Tagalog, and I would hit. I'm very OCD. I'm very intense. I'm very focused when I'm doing something. Like I'm either in or I'm not in. I'm totally in or I'm totally out.
Right.
And you know, when I was very young in Campo, we don't stretch a lot. You know, I mean, we do stretch, but it's not primarily a kicking art. It's rapid hand street fighting.
Right.
You know, but I would focus on the stretching. I had the full splits. I still have all that stuff.
Wow.
You know, because I focused, even though it wasn't really necessary for what you needed in Campo, I felt it necessary for what I wanted to do. You know, and it was fun to be able to do the splits and kick high than opposed to the guy that couldn't do it and not kick high, you know, as well as doing the Campo. So I learned a lot from Ed Downey. I mean, you just learn a lot. You learn, you know, you hear, and you know, when you're around somebody, you know, they rub off on you anyway, and hopefully in this case it's good. And you just find yourself sometimes doing stuff kind of, you know, like they would do it, maybe even saying what they say sometimes. Not that you're just kind of trying to copy them or mimic them, but it's kind of a subliminal thing you build up over time. You'll find you'll have great similarities. Yeah, it's like with Guru. I mean, when I look at Ed Downey and I look at Guru Inosanto, now Guru Inosanto is 85, Ed Downey is 66. So there's 20 years in the difference. But nevertheless, 66 is no spring chicken. You know, Ed Downey just went from 240 pounds down to 190 for his health. He just dropped the weight.
Wow.
Strict dieting. You know, I mean, so you have to, you know, me personally, I look up to that because I know what it's like to be in diet shape. And it's not easy to do it. Even when the prize is great. It's not easy to do it. And it's much harder to do it when you're just doing it because you want to be healthy or because you feel you need to lose weight, because there's no reward at the end. Of course, there could be the biggest reward of the lot could be your health, right? Of course. Right. But it's not like you're training for $1 million fight or a $30 million fight or there's some massive, you know, monetary reward at the end that would drive most people. You know, when you work with Guru Inosanto, he's just such a phenomenal teacher. It's like I said earlier, he knows how to teach, and he's a beautiful man. I only wish I could be like Ed Downey and Guru Inosanto. They're just beautiful people. You'll never hear either one of them curse. Never. It doesn't happen. You'll never hear either one of them talk bad about somebody else. It doesn't happen. You know, it's always positive. They're both exactly what a teacher should be. They're positive. It's all about giving. If they see that you want to learn, they're happy to hand over and push you to be better and make you go out there and pursue then the teaching of whether you teach it for self-defense purpose. You know, there's no other two men in the world that want their students to pass on the art to the next generation more than Ed Downey or Guru Inosanto that I have met. Right. I mean, they don't hide anything from you. They don't, you know, like a lot of people, as you know, when they teach, they'll teach you something, but they won't teach you the whole thing because they want to have something you don't have. Ed Downey and Dan Inosanto are not like that. They'll give you everything. They want you to have everything, because the more you have and the more you know about it and the more knowledgeable you are, the better your skill set is, the better you can pass it on. Yeah, good. You know, it's like the influence they both had on me is just, you know, obviously be a better martial artist, but by just being around them to be a better person. To try to be a better person. I mean, when I look at Ed Downey, I look at Dan Inosanto, I look at two people and I really do go, I really strive to be like these two men, because they're both tough. They both have a lot of skills. They both can hurt you, but they never will. They have nothing to prove. They're just doing their craft. They're passing it on, you know, and the things that Ed Downey has done for Kenpo and the things that Guro Inosanto has done for the martial arts in general, I mean, I don't even know where to start. I mean, I think he is the sole purpose that Filipino martial arts became as big as it did in the Western world. I mean, because, you know, I mean, Bruce Lee recognized very early on how good he was. You know, I mean, he introduced Bruce to the tabak toyoks, the nunchucks. You know, he taught that to Bruce. You know, Bruce brought him in Game of Death where he was very quick to latch on and go, you know, Guro's like this good. And then he ran his LA school for a period of time. He was his instructor there. And he's just still passing that on. And when you think about it all the years later, like it's like 60 years of teaching. Guro's 85. So it's 60 plus years. It's just...
it's a love and a lifestyle now that he has. And I can see it in you and Darren when y'all talk about y'all, you know, your grandmasters and masters that trained you, that, you know, that all is in you now because you trained. And when you ask Guro Inosanto something about a technique or an expression or whatever regarding whichever of the martial art you would be talking to him at that moment in time, he is so passionate. Yeah. It's something you have to experience. He's so passionate just to get that across, get that message across. And one thing he made a very valid statement. He's been making it for a long time, I'm sure, but he made it to me personally a few times. And then, of course, during the class, he always said, find your way to do something. Because the way you'll do it will be different. Yeah, he always uses an expression Ed Parker said to him, Danny, everybody won't fit into a 42 jacket. So we can all do the same thing, but we have to do it slightly different because we're different anatomically. Somebody's tall, somebody's small, somebody's short, somebody's heavy, somebody's stronger. So everybody could be doing the same technique, but they'll adapt and have to do it to suit their own anatomy, their own timing, their own power, their own to make it work for them. And when it resonated, it's like, oh wow, okay. And you just, by being around Guro Inosanto, you just get a bigger understanding for everything that you don't know and for everything that you may have known already. You just walk out of there with a bigger understanding of it because the way he'll explain it to you and the way he'll hand off that skill to you. And yeah, I mean, the effects for me is just, I mean, there's, you know, now that you're asking me, there's so many. Yeah. I can't. You probably never thought about it.
All I can tell you is that they're all good. They're all good. I mean, you know, it's like if you go to Ed Downey and you're a Silat guy, or you're a Filipino martial artist, whatever it is, Panatukan, Dumog, Sarada, whatever your system of Filipino martial arts is, and you go to Ed Downey and he's a Kenpo guy, he would pass on skills that will make your Sarada better, principles. When you go to Guro Inosanto, it's the same thing. He'll give you principles and concepts and show you different ways to do stuff and really make you think outside of the box. Even though you're already maybe thinking outside, you don't have blinkers on like this, you may be thinking, let me just put it this way, when after a class with Guro Dan or a conversation, your box is a lot wider. Let's just put it that way.
a lot wider.
Yeah, that's wider.
That's huge. That's huge.
Yeah, that's the influence of the mentors, the teachers, you know, and us as teachers. We hope we can all touch students, practitioners, martial arts enthusiasts, you know, and touch them in that kind of way. So, you know, Sifu Dan definitely leads by example. You know, he's a great man, but what I notice is the way he communicates with his compassion, his love for the art. I believe everybody feels it. And when you can feel, you know, that giving, that heart in a person trying to teach you, you know, you can only want to grasp it. So, you know, he's definitely a great teacher and role model, yes. But, you know, he's so much older than a lot of the guys, even in their 60s, to have that gift of knowledge, yes. We all shoot for that. We do, you know, in our respective art.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the thing is, when you learn from certain instructors, you know, I've been very lucky who I've been around in my martial arts career, because I know people who've been around as long as me and longer than me and not as long as me, and they haven't been as lucky as I have been, meaning they may have been with an instructor who doesn't want them to train with another instructor,
right?
Or, you know, this kind of stuff. Ed Downey was never like that. Guru Inosanto is not like that. In fact, one of Guru's mottos is go and learn from other people.
Learn as much. Yep.
You should do that. I want you to do that. You know, he promotes that on a very regular basis. Every individual will offer, you know, and then, you know, you can, you know, absorb it and discard what doesn't work for you or whatever. And, you know, I've been very lucky. Ed Downey, you know, in the early days in Ireland with Campo, he's still doing it today, but I'm here, so that's why I'm referring to at that time. You know, he would hold his camp. He would have Jeff Speakman, Brian Duffy, Frank Trejo, you know, and a whole host of John Sepulveda come over. You know, when I come here, I go train with those guys. There was never any issue of going training with another instructor.
Right.
I also think the relationship between student and instructor is important too, because in the Kempo world here, there are people who want rank.
Yeah,
and I know individuals in the Kempo world who wanted rank and felt it was their time to be promoted, and their instructor did not feel it was their time to be promoted, so they left that instructor and went and took rank from another instructor. So they just discarded all their loyalty and whatever X amount of years they had to that instructor for another instructor that's not really their instructor. They pay a fee to strap a belt around their waist. To me that seems ludicrous.
Yeah.
And that's one thing, you know. I tested for my first degree black belt in Kempo in April '97 in Ireland. Who was on the board was Jeff Speakman, John Sepulveda, Ed Downey, John Burgess, Richard Burgess, and a couple of others. I don't remember everybody. I tested for my second degree in June '99 in Las Vegas, at the Las Vegas Kempo camp, which the camp was, the panel for the second degree black belt test was Jeff Speakman, John Sepulveda, Ed Downey, Brian Hines, Lee Wedley, Cook Planis. So they're all high-ranking Kempo.
All big names, yeah.
I didn't test again until July 2013. From 2009 to 2013. From 1999. I'm sorry. I tested for my second degree in '99. From '99 to 2013, I didn't test. Then I tested for my third degree. That was not 2013, 2012. So I tested in 97, 99, 2012, and then I was promoted just 6 weeks ago to fourth degree 10 years later. So I for me, even as a young kid growing up, I found early on in martial arts, it's probably one of the worst things and best things that ever happened in martial arts. Let's start with the worst, in my opinion. Maybe not the worst, but not so good. Let's put it that way. Was that they brought rank. Now I understand rank. I get rank. I understand why it was put there. I understand why some people justify it. I get all that. But once you bring rank into the fray, then over time that becomes the most important thing to a lot of people. It's not the most important thing. The most important thing, number one, is your character. your loyalty, and your skill. You can have all the character in the world you want. You can be you can have the worst character in the world. You can have the best skill in the world. What good is the best skill if you have the worst character? You want to have good character. Now, of course, we all know everybody's individually made, but my point is that along the way, I think we can help make somebody better by our teachings. And when you bring belts into it, it becomes a financial thing. And then, you know, unless you have a really stringent method and you really put time into them knowing, there's a belt system and this is why it's here. But these are the important things. The belt is a signification of your time put in, your skill set and your effort. It doesn't necessarily represent your loyalty or your character.
No.
So a lot of the time people will discard their loyalty and their character for rank. I never got that. I was like, because early on I realized there was people obviously in the academy before me and they were higher rank. Then all of a sudden I'm as good as them, better than them, some of them, able to kick some of their butts. And then I'm looking going, well, I'm only wearing a yellow belt and he's wearing a green belt, but I just kicked his butt. So right there, at a very young age, I realized that the belt didn't really signify. It didn't really signify a lot. It's like, you know, also in the Western world, black belt is like now you're a professional. You know, I don't get that nit. I don't agree with it. I don't get it. I'm not here to try and I think us good martial artists and people who don't see it should try to change it if the change is going to be for the better. Because you know, I think a belt signifies where you're at. It signifies you're at a specific standard. And if you're not, you shouldn't be wearing that rank. Problem is I see with time that has gone on in a lot of martial arts is that and Kempo is I mean, in Ireland it's a little different. You know, it's not so much about the money. You know, here it's a little bit more about the money. So I notice you have a lot of people wearing black belts. I think Kempo right now has 410 degree black belts.
Wow.
410 degree black belts, of which probably 399 of them, if you threw a jab, you'd probably hit them every time.
Yeah, it's commercialized. It's commercialized, and these instructors have these places that they got overhead, and they got to pay the lights, keep the lights on, pay the rent and everything to keep these dojos running.
That's all true. That's all true. But in my experience, my personal experience is that if you set a standard from day one, and of course, you know, you have a beginner, you have to have a minimum. For me, there should be a minimum standard before you test him to move on to his next belt, whatever that color would be based on your ranking system.
Right.
You know, now, of course, you could have 10 yellow belts, and you're going to have one's going to be better than the other. You know, one might be really good at techniques, one might be very good with a stick, the other might be very good at kicking. But you look at it, then you go, everything they're good at is on a level that, yes, I'm going to promote norms, get left out for rank. And, you know, I understand rank for kids is good. Kids, you want them to be motivated. I get it. You know, the rank is good. Kids love colors and stuff like that. But I still believe, in my experience, if you want a high standard, if you set it from day one, you won't have a problem. What I think happens is a lot of instructors in different systems feel that if they set that standard, they're going to lose their students. They may not have as many students, or they may not be able to pay the bill, the light bill, or the overhead. So they maybe don't push for the standard they should have.
Right.
And over time, it just kind of stays there or kind of waters down. And occasionally, of course, you'll have somebody come out and they'll be extraordinary, and you go, wow, that person's as good as any era at doing that system.
Yeah.
But I still think if you set a high standard from day one, my experience, and it'd be with some people that you might think you couldn't do it with. You set a high standard from day one and you take safety protocols and everything, people are fine. But you can't set a low standard and then go back and try and raise that standard because people.
You know, in regards to you talking about Kempo is a huge organization. It's probably one of the biggest in the world. Am I correct?
Yeah.
The Kempo.
Yeah, I mean Kempo in Ireland.
It's one of the hugest in the world, right? Martial art organizations.
Yeah, Kempo is.
So you know, listening to what you have to say with that big of an organization, how you guys test. There's one thing that I learned coming up, you know, in my time, Gojuru, Kabbalah Sarada, Eskrima, the floor always tells the truth. You're going to have, like you said, you're going to have 10 green belts, and you're going to see somebody or some of them maybe better in certain things. Coming down to a criteria of rank, is that what creates the problem? The rank. Am I correct?
I think like
you said,
rank. You said the
10
rank.
green belts, but only 3 look at that level.
Yeah.
The rest, mediocre.
Yeah.
As a teacher that has to grade that and elevate it, of course, it's going to create a problem, I think, within the organization, looking at the quality and standard of the individuals all wearing one belt. So, yes, some must elevate because of their ability. The floor tells the truth.
Yeah.
Now, that's old school. And Kempo is old school.
Yeah.
And I could imagine with the organization that big, how one can be suspect on the amount of black belts or ninth degrees.
What I think, Grandmaster Darren, is that the organization can be as big as it wants, but when you break it down, the organization is what? It's a bunch of schools.
Right.
Yeah.
Here, there, and everywhere. So in every school is an instructor or instructor.
Yes.
There's one or more. So I think in the Kempo world, to make, look, it's not easy to do because, for example, if you get somebody has got bad hips, they're not going to be good at doing certain. They're not going to be good at doing certain things.
Yeah.
As opposed to the person that's fresh.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I believe that an instructor's job, this is just my personal opinion, it doesn't mean it's right, but it's my opinion, that as an instructor, we have a job, a responsibility to bring every individual to their maximum capacity, their 100%. Not to compare one to the other, even though I know we do. But if you have 10 students, every student will be good at something that the other student is not. Maybe that.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. And a lot of it's ability, natural ability.
And the students' willingness to practice. Some students don't practice as hard as others. And then you got their parents in the background putting pressure on that instructor and everything else. I've seen that as well with some.
Let me tell you the important thing. More important, if you are, it's amazing what the mind can do and what drive and desire and ambition and motivation can do. When I started learning from Guru Inosanto, I didn't know that stuff at all. I didn't know it at all. But I had a drive, and I bought every book, I bought every DVD of Guru's, I did my research, I got manuals, I took private, I did X, Y, and Z, and I wanted to get that down. I was intense, I was ambitious, motivated, driven. I had a desire. I just wanted to get that stuff down because I have a thing where I don't like maybe, like I said, I'm either in or I'm out. And you know what? There is a lot to be said for when you have it here and you want it. You're going to get it faster, and you're going to be better than the person who's kind of just dragging along.
Yes. Yes.
You know, but I still think that every instructor has an obligation to us. This is my personal thing, to make sure that every student is at their 100%, not the 100% of the other student. Yeah. Their 100%. And you'd be surprised. There's been some schools I've been to around the world, even in Asia, and I look and go, I'm trying to be nice about this. It's it aggravates me a little bit, because when somebody is, whether you're taking money from somebody as payment to train them, or you're not, that you're training them, you take them as a student to train them. Whether they're paying you or not, that's a different thing. That could be between you. When you take that student on, I believe that instructor has a prerogative, has a responsibility to give that student absolutely everything he can give him, and make him the best he can be, and give him a rock solid foundation. Yes. Not only in martial arts. Martial arts is this much of our life. Mm-hmm. Talking about give him a foundation and help him build his character.
There you go.
That he can go out and use that
discipline. Yeah.
Yes. Where he can take that discipline, channel it, and let's face it, you have a boxer. Well, I have a boxing program at my studio. I call it Books Before Boxing. Mm-hmm. Customato had a great method, and he was Mike Tyson's trainer and surrogate father. Yeah. And he had that kids couldn't do certain things unless they knew certain things about their homework, and they could write and spell.
Right.
And that's a really great. That's what I'm also putting in here, because I do the Customato Boxing Gym Los Angeles, which is here with Mike Tyson, and that's what I'm in the process of putting in. And I have a young kid here. I started training him 1 month before he was 4. He's a next door neighbor of mine. His name is Jingwan. And I'm not patting myself on the back here, and I've always worked with him on a private basis, always one-on-one. We're friends. There's no money involved. There never was. There never will be. I would never. I will never take money for them. They're the future. And once you bring money into the mix, it starts to get there. There's too much, it just starts to get different. And I deal with business a lot. It's probably a personal thing with me. I deal with business a lot. So when I'm able to train somebody and there's no money involved, it's kind of like, wow, we can just train and have fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Of course, money's important. We need it, so on. But
it changes the whole. What the word I'm looking for? It changes that whole structure for that.
It changes everything, and the thing is, so what I was saying is, I trained this kid, and it's amazing. Now, granted, he's very physically gifted. He is. He's intelligent, he's smart, he remembers everything. And he's doing stuff better than I'm doing it. It's amazing. And I look and go, wow, this is fantastic that I was able to hand this off to this kid.
Yeah.
Because you know what? You never know. One day, maybe he'll, end up having to use a little bit of that to defend himself, and he's okay, and he does enough to get away.
Yeah.
And then you look and you go, you've done your job.
Yes. Question, James. James, do you have children?
I do not. No.
You do not have children?
I do not.
What you're explaining about your neighbor, those of us with children, like my son, my daughter, my grandson,
right?
The tradition of Angel's Disciples. As soon as my son got off the bottle, he got on the stick. And at the age of 3 is at the age my daughter, my son, and my grandson began training Serrata Eskrima. So, when you look at children at that young of age doing basic movements of Serrata Eskrima, by the time that child is probably 8 or 9 years old, they can pick up a movement much better than most adults. And when it gets in the drill format, it's surprising what a young child who grew up doing the art till about 11 or 12 years old, on how well their sensitivity and their movement is. So, you know, I understand what you're saying about the money aspect of it all, but me teaching my kids, you know, as young children, you can call them babies, but taking that time for them to comprehend a movement and to perfect these movements, you know, and then once they're grown, 16, 18 years old, you have phenomenal practitioners. So I understand what you're saying about that, you know,
that's
the
huge.
money involved with it.
And that's huge. But like you said, the money kind of puts a cover over the situation.
It does.
It does. And if you run a business, I mean, you can't run a business if it's not making money. But, you know, I just like to be able to give. I don't like every aspect of my life to be about money. Some people make their life about money, and that's okay. That's their choice.
Yeah.
I don't like to do that. It's nice to be able to work with somebody because you like the person and because they're learning and they appreciate you as a person. They appreciate what you're giving them. And there's nothing better than when you pass on a skill. And it could be martial arts, it could be tennis, it could be boxing, it could be American, it could be baseball, whatever that activity is. There's nothing better than over time seeing a kid grow in his abilities, and you look and go, you know what, I helped in that process and I was happy to do it. There's no better satisfaction for me than
it's rewarding.
It's very rewarding because
it's very rewarding.
What you know, the thing is that if we don't pass on what we have, it dies.
Yeah, exactly.
And by the way, Darren, your kids are excellent. So you know, you did a great job. I mean, they're great people, and they're fabulous martial artists.
Yes, you know, it's coming back from they couldn't skip practice. Okay, when my son and my daughter was coming up, they started sports. And my son played Pop Warner football from 8 years old all the way to senior high school football. And he played free safety, linebacker, you know, corner, outside linebacker, a lot of contact. But he loved defense, okay? That did not mean that he was going to miss practice because he had football practice all week or even a hell month. My son would come to practice wearing his gear, take off his gear in the bathroom, change his clothes real quick, and get out on the floor and train as screamer. And that's how he grew up. That's how my daughter grew up. My daughter was a long distance track runner, hurdles. Okay. She did the whole track thing. She was also basketball. She was a 5-letter block, all right, in high school. She did not miss the screamer practice, nor did my son, because it became a way of life, you know. And coming from my family, if you're my kid, you're gonna train Serrata Screamer, and
they keep the legacy going, right?
Yeah, they keep the legacy going. They keep the legacy
going. You know,
and just like James was saying with the little kid he's training.
Yes, little
the legacy
kid.
continues.
So, you know, as a parent teaching a student, okay, and it's your child, they live with you, okay? Not only that, you got to guide them and help them, homework, everything else, or whatever they need. And then you got to make sure they get to school. Yes. Okay, so I understand what you're saying, James, in that perspective, but, you know, teaching your own kids versus a class you may see people 2 times a week. And then getting back to, okay, say you got 10 students. One of them or 2 of them or 4 of them always miss at least once a month or twice a month. Right. And then it's obvious of the ones that show up for practice, they grow. So it's us being teachers on how we gauge students from beginner, intermediate, advanced to high level. So, you know, Serrata Eskrima, the whole training concept of it is control. Whether you teach it slow to understand the movement, pinpoint accuracy. But as you get into the advanced stage, the expectation is to be able to stop that weapon on a dime without hitting your opponent. So in teaching from beginner to intermediate, and you've been playing with sticks a long time, James, you've been playing with sticks a long time. How many times have you paired up with a guy and he had no control and whacked the shit out of you? Did you want to train with that guy the following class? Oh man, that guy got no control whatsoever. Yeah. And then you look at the guy and he might have a faraway look in his eye, you know?
Well, there's also, what you see, the thing is that there's a thing where, you know, I don't know how I want to say what I want to say.
You gotta address the culture, James. We gotta address
the culture, brother.
There's a thing where a guy may touch you.
Yeah.
And he's got control.
Yes.
He's just used to touching you.
Yeah.
But in a class, he's touching you 50, 60.
You mean deep bone bruise kind of touch. Deep bone bruise. Yes. There are some people that do. There are some people that do not have control and they just whack your hands off. Yes. Yeah, but you know, bro, that's the difference between the Kempo world and the Eskrima world. Once you go one-on-one and go through fundamentals or even basic fundamentals, and if a student can't get through basic fundamentals without whacking the shit out of his training partner, that training partner is not going to want to train with that guy no more. Not only is he not going to want to train with them again, he's going to find a different partner. But that's the FMA scene, bro.
Yeah.
And, you know, I've seen it. As a teacher, I'm busted up. My hands are busted up from teaching. The guys with the faraway look in their eye with no control.
There was a guy came to my academy a few weeks ago, and he was working with me a little bit, and he's a good guy.
Yeah,
but he's fucking delusional.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, the most important thing my father once told me, he said, it's important to know what you know, but it's just as important, if not more important, to know what you do not know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, this guy, let's put it this way, this guy doesn't know what he doesn't know. Let's just put it that way.
Well, you know,
and another guy came in. Another guy came in after he left.
Okay, it's like this.
This was just a coincidence. Another guy came in, and I said to him, this fucking guy is after busting up my hand. He doesn't know shit. And the other guy, the guy that walked in, just looks and goes, no.
Yeah.
It's not that he doesn't know. It's not that he doesn't know shit. He doesn't even know what shit is.
Yeah. Let's say for instance, James. One of the last times I seen you, you purchased my entire video series.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, if you analyze,
they're right here. They're right
here. If you analyze volume 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, you see a progression of beginning, intermediate, advanced, and high level. It'd be like showing a student 9, 10, and 11. A beginner, they ain't never picked up a stick, and say, go ahead, I want you to train this. Are you going to trust him throwing bolos at your head with no basic training? You get killed, right?
Yeah.
You be killed, yeah.
Sounds like suicide to me.
Yeah, set yourself up. Hey, guys, real quick, we're going to take a quick break.
Okay.
And when we come back, James, you started now. We talked about the fun. Now we want to talk about your work.
Oh, yeah.
We'll be back.
Van
of the people. That's right. Van of the people.
You know what I'm talking about?
That's what we're talking about. You know, it is. Right.
Van of the people, baby. I'm here.
Van of the people.
I'm so glad to be here. Big Ball, peace. Pstock, I love y'all, man.
Why are you choosing to represent the people of Southern Illinois?
Well, my reasons are twofold. First of all, I found out that we don't have a dog in the fight right now. If we didn't take this opportunity, take this write-in opportunity to get on the ballot, the Democratic side and the independents wouldn't have somebody that they could support in the race at all. Just by saying, oh, he's a liberal, but think about the word liberal is really like the word liberate, which means to free, right? But if you think about somebody that's conservative and you say they're conservative, you mean that they want to conserve something. So they want to save something. Those aren't bad characteristics on either part, whether you want to liberate and free somebody or if you want to be conservative and save somebody. I think that we all trying to do the right thing.
Right. We're back. Hey, great show. We're back with James Bennett.
Yeah.
And this is Address the Culture. Actor, martial artist actor. Now, James, you was getting ready to touch on it until we got into the other conversations, which was great, about your Hollywood career. You said you always wanted to go to Hollywood. That was one of your goals. So when you set out for that, to go to Hollywood on your journey, did you purposely plan martial arts as a part of your Hollywood experience, or you was just going however you can get in? I'm gonna get in where I can fit in.
No, I was doing martial arts when I was very small, and Kempo is not very movie oriented. I mean, you know, doesn't have flashy gymnastics, it doesn't have flashy kicks, even though I could do a lot of kicks and do those jump kicks and everything. No, I always wanted to be in movies from when I was very young, and I don't know why. It was always just one of these things, and so I loved the A-Team when I was growing up in the 80s. MacGyver, they were kind of the only two shows I really liked as a kid. I always wanted to go to America because when you I grew up on a dairy farm and so on and so forth. You know, I mean, I'm very happy I grew up in a dairy farm. It gives you a lot of appreciation for working. I mean, and my father, from when I was a young kid, he would get me up at 4:30. Even right tomorrow, I wake up at 4:15, 4:20 every day, and I get up and I go to the gym and I work out. That's just how I've been doing. That's the way I was brought up. I mean, I don't know what it's like to be asleep at 7 a.m. or 6 a.m. or even 5 a.m. and you know, so I have a good work ethic. I have good discipline, and the martial arts brought that out. In 1985, 1986, I saw Jean-Claude Van Damme in a movie called No Retreat, No Surrender. Actually, hold on, let me back up. I saw a picture of him in Black Belt magazine where he was in the tank top and he was like this. And I thought, wow, okay, there was something about that picture and something about him that attracted me to the picture. I mean, just the muscle. And of course, I was always, you know, wanted muscle, and that all young guys do want muscle, you know what I mean? And, you know, so I was well aware of I would watch Mike Tyson with my father and Muhammad Ali, and so I was well aware of what muscle was. But I saw Van Damme in Black Belt magazine in that picture, and I went, God, I'd like to be like that. Then I saw, you know, a few years went by, and of course the movies were already made, but with distribution and that, they were maybe made a year and a half before they came out. And I saw Bloodsport. And I fell in love with Bloodsport, and I went, I was crazy about the guy, and not in that way. I was crazy about the guy, in like from a martial arts standpoint, like how good he was, you know, how well he looked, his charisma, everything. Now that I look back in time, I think the number one thing that probably most people are attracted to is the charisma, that dynamism, that dynamic the dynamism of somebody. You know, they just have that attraction. And, you know, at the time, I'm just looking at his muscles and his, you know, his kicks and the way he do stuff. And I started stretching and stretching more and more and more. I became a Van Damme fanatic. I would watch all his movies and I would get them. The guy at the video store at that time, I would cycle in. I would rent a video with the VHS. Well, we'd have to return it to the next day. If it was a new release, you returned it the next day. If it was an older movie, you got, I think, 2 days.
2 days, yeah.
And of course, every Friday out going home from school, I would rent Bloodsport and I would keep it and then drop it back on Monday. And I do the same the following Friday. And this went on for months and months. And of course, then Kickboxer came out and all his other movies. And I fell in love with him in the sense that this was my action guy. This was my hero. This was the guy that I gravitated to. This was my motivating. This was my one motivation outside of being in the dojo.
Those spinning kicks was legendary.
Yeah, from that.
Absolutely. And then I was like, out of the blue, I was like, very early on when I saw Bloodsport, I said, I want to do a movie with that guy.
Yeah.
Well, you know, looking at Van Damme's training regimen in Bloodsport, you know, training with the teacher in Thailand, the guy put him in the ropes and was stretching them apart, and you know, for him to show that training method, I think it hit a lot of us. You know, on the training regimen.
I'll tell you why I agree with that, because when I let me jump forward a little bit. You're 100% right, Darren, because when I travel with him, you know, regularly, you know, and we train together all the time, but I travel with him. We'll go on a trip, you know, or something like that. Like, I mean, the guy's an icon. He's a legend, and he's known for all the same things you just said, the splits, the this, the that. You know, there's nobody really talking about his later movies. It's all Bloodsport, Kickboxer, Double Impact, Hard Target, those early movies. But I said, I remember saying, you know, after I want to be like this guy. I want to do a movie with this guy, you know. And my father's like, don't talk too much. Shut your mouth and go do it. He told me. He's very blunt. He says, don't talk about it. Go do it. I'll believe it. I'll believe it when I see it. That's what he said. So I was still very young. So roll ahead. I hear that Van Damme is coming to Planet Hollywood in Dublin. So I go there and I hustle the security guard, and he's like, well, you know, I said, look, I need 2 tickets. I need 1, but I need 2. He goes, I said, look, I'll pay you. So I take out whatever it was and I give him the cash. And he's able to get me 2 tickets. And I go there and I meet Van Damme. I still have the pictures. And long story short, we become friends. And then I was coming here more and more and more. Well, let me back up a little bit. When I first met him, I was making Ireland's first... There was a movie in Hong Kong going to be made with Donnie Yen, and they were looking for a white guy. And I wanted to do it. So the producer in Hong Kong said, send me a demo reel. And I went, okay. I didn't really know what a demo reel was. So I went and I made a movie, an 80 and 85-minute movie. It was the hardest movie to make. Lots of action, lots of people, lots of locations, and no money.
Wow.
But I made it. It's not, you know, people run it down consistently. But what people don't understand is that it wasn't made to compete with a Hollywood production.
Yeah.
I already knew my limitations as a 20-year-old. I knew my limitations. Without money, you can only do certain things with a movie if you don't have enough money.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right.
So anyway, we shot that, and then I came to America, and then Jean-Claude and I, you know, we became very good friends, and this was in the 90s. And then he would hire me. He would hire me to pump him up for photo shoots and stuff like that. And we would go and hang out and train together, and you know, then he he was doing some movies. I appeared in some movies with him, which led to a lead role in Steven Seagal's movie Attrition. And yeah, I mean that's where we stand. You know, I know Arnold and Sly. You know, they're friends of mine. We hang out from time to time. We had lunch with them a bunch of times. You know, pre-COVID, and yeah, I mean, you know, Jean-Claude and I would go and we'd have lunch with Arnold and Sly. We'd go to Gold's Gym and train and blah blah blah. And then I done, then it led to other movies and so on and so forth. And yeah, I'm actually in the process of putting a movie being put together now that I'm going to do in Thailand very shortly. Yeah.
Wow. So you're actually producing this one, though, right?
I'm one of the producers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But I'm actually acting in the movie also.
Okay. You gotta keep us up on it, man. Whenever you get ready, you gotta hit us with the trailers and the posters so we can make that happen.
Yeah,
man. We gotta make it a movie, man. Whenever you drop it, you gotta spin the block, come on and talk about it. Maybe you should come on.
We should get Jean-Claude to come on.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Get him on.
We should get him on because when we train, he comes and trains in my gym here with me.
Yeah.
I'll talk to him about that, and let's see if we can make it happen. Yeah.
That's beautiful.
That sounds
be
great.
a good one.
We would love to address the culture.
Question, James. I've recently seen you standing next to Iron Mike Tyson, and he had a pair of sticks in his hand. Now,
I seen that picture.
Iron Mike training sticks with you?
Okay,
or?
So what that is, I was working with Mike. That picture was actually taken in September 2020.
Oh, okay.
And because the picture I posted is a TVT or an FBF, I think.
Oh, okay.
And how that went down exactly was, I was stretching him and stuff, and of course he knows who Guro Inosanto is and everything. And I was telling Guro, and Guro said it's a Filipino tradition that when we have an opportunity or we meet somebody that we respect and like, we give them a gift.
Yes.
So those two sticks were from Guro, and I gave them to Mike on behalf of Guro. And that that picture is actually from a video clip of Mike thanking Guro.
Wow.
Yes, and has he done the sticks? Yes, have upper six, lower six, standard six, the umbrella. Yes.
Yeah, that's good to hear that. That's good to hear.
By the way, Mike is a very, very, very cool guy.
Yeah.
Very humble, very down to earth.
Yeah.
He's just a great guy. Yeah. So that's how that came about. Those were a set of Inosanto sticks that I gave to Mike on behalf of Guro.
That's amazing, man. We got to get them all on. We got to get Sly, Arnold, Mike. Come on, bring them all, man. We need to address the culture.
Yeah, address the culture. Man, it sounds like a address the culture version of the Expendables.
You can get everybody on the couch.
Hold on, you broke up.
No, what you say?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, what you say?
I'm saying you can get Arnold, Sly, and Jean-Claude and Mike Tyson all here on the couch.
Yeah, get them all on the couch.
Dream team. Dream team.
Yeah. So that's where I kept the film thing pretty brief. I mean, I did Blackwater. I did Kickboxer Vengeance with Jean-Claude. Kickboxer Retaliation, I played the nunchuck guy. And then I did Blackwater and the Kill 'Em All as well. And I'm actually now getting ready to do the third and final installment in the Kickboxer trilogy called Kickboxer Armageddon.
Oh, nice.
Oh,
nice. Wow.
Cool.
Yeah. So Kickboxer Vengeance was the remake of the first Kickboxer with Van Damme.
Okay.
And then Kickboxer Retaliation is the sequel to that, and then the trilogy will be Armageddon. That closes out the trilogy.
Wow.
Nice.
That's nice.
Yeah.
You're going to be in. I also seen, and this is funny because you didn't mention it, but also seen you had a part in Jersey Boys.
Jersey Boys, yeah, I have a funny story. we were at the Orpheum Hotel downtown, and we were on that set for the Orpheum Theater. I'm sorry, and it's a very nice theater. I don't know if you guys have been there. It's really nice. Mm-hmm. And I'm standing there, and I'm doing this with my shoulders, like feel like I got a creak in my back, and all of a sudden I get this, and I look to my left, and it's Clint Eastwood, and he goes, "Hey boy, you got a kink in that back, boy." And he was directing the movie, of course. You know, but and an interesting story at the end of the shoot.
Wow!
I was waiting there, and I was supposed to leave, but I waited there because I wanted to say hello, Clint. Thank you. It was a pleasure. Mm-hmm. I didn't. Everybody else was gone, but you know, you have all these people in positions, and you know, all of a sudden, somebody who's probably humble when they're at home, maybe, is not that humble when they feel they have a position of power.
Yeah.
Right.
So this person comes up and goes, "You have to leave," and of course, on a given day, I might say, "Sure, fuck, whatever." I probably would have been gone, but it's a day with Clint Eastwood.
Yeah.
So I said, "Why do I have to leave?" And Clint was standing 25 feet away. And he was talking to somebody. And they said, "Well, because, you know, Mr. Eastwood," and then that person was gone that he was talking to. And he was like kind of there doing something with a piece of paper. So I just went over and I said, "Mr. Eastwood, it was a pleasure, you know, you're a legend," something like that. I really admire you. And we talked about the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yeah.
One of my favorite, all the spaghetti
all
westerns.
Times. All favorites.
And he talked for 20 minutes.
Wow.
And this person, I don't know, it was some PA was trying to usher me like
they exploded.
Like I'm bothering him, but he's talking to me.
He's talking to you. Legendary.
And he just looks at the PA and he goes, "Leave him alone."
Yeah.
Like that. Now, guys, you want to hear an interesting story?
Yes.
That's legendary.
That is.
September 94, Mel Gibson is filming Braveheart at Trim Castle. Now, I'm not saying this because it's Mel Gibson. I'm saying this because you'll see when I tell you. And I walk in and I say, "I want a photo with Mel Gibson," to the security person. And I don't say it like that. I say, "Can I have a photo?" or, you know. But of course, he's like, "No, you can't." When you walk in the gate to headquarters, all the actors' trailers are behind. But I didn't look back, and you can't really see because they had a thing up. And all of a sudden, I hear this, "Of course he can." And I look around, and it's Mel Gibson, half blue face on the regular, and the sword. And he comes over, and I had one of those throwaway cameras. You know, the throwaway. And I took a photograph. Now, think about this, guys. Think about this. That's September 1994. Mm-hmm. Roll ahead to August 2013. 19 years later. Okay? 19 years, yes? Am I correct?
From 1994 to... Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. 19 years. Yeah.
And I'm stretching. I'm at Equinox and I'm stretching.
Mm-hmm.
And I see Mel Gibson working out 50 feet away. But, you know, I don't think anything. I just, "Oh, there's Mel Gibson." I'm thinking in my head. I'm stretching and I sit up and Mel's going to the fountain, coming back from the fountain, and he puts his hand out and he goes, "Hey, how are you?" He says, "Nice to see you again. Trim, Braveheart, 1994.
He remembered you. Yeah. He remembers you.
And I jokingly said to him, I said, "I don't know, Mel, if that's a compliment or an insult. Did I look really old then, or do I look really?" And it was just amazing that he could remember my face. Just a phenomenal memory.
Yeah. What they say, that's like an elephant, as they say. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the elephant in the room.
Wow. Oh man, the memory, that's crazy. And like you wouldn't think, because he done met so many people, you know what I mean, throughout his life, just being Mel Gibson.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You can imagine millions and millions of people that he done met, and to remember you, that just show your impact and the connection that people have with you. You know what I mean? That's amazing.
I don't know. I don't know if it was an impact or a connection, or he just remembered my face. I don't know what it was, but I just was remembered. I remember thinking, "Wow, that's impressive." I mean, 19.
I mean, come on.
That many years apart.
Like,
I had not seen him.
Right.
And that was like, I mean, and it was just, I was like, wow. I mean, that's just impressive when something like that happens.
Yeah.
You know? And so that way I just thought I'd throw it in there because it's an impressive story of his memory, how he could remember.
Yeah, he got a strong memory. He remembered you.
Yeah. So,
wow,
yeah.
that is.
And you know, I worked with Steven Seagal on nutrition.
Yes.
And I have to say, it was I had the most pleasure, the most fun, the most enjoyment working with him.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was really fantastic. And I remember we were doing a scene where I'm sitting at the table because it was kind of a movie. It was kind of cross between Zhang Zimao's Grandmaster and The Expendables kind of thing.
Okay.
Kind of those two stories mashed together.
Okay.
And we were sitting at a table and we were doing a different setup. And I knew he was good friends with Ed Parker and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked him about Aikido and how they would be doing stuff opposed to a Kempo man and so on.
Yeah.
And he asked me to stand up and he demonstrated some locks and stuff. And, you know, boy, I mean, he can really apply that stuff. He knows that stuff. He was a great guy to work with. Yeah, it was very good. But, you know, I've got to you know, like the way a lot of people talk about Van Damme and this person, that person. Let me tell you, Jean-Claude's very good. Steven Seagal is phenomenal. I mean, with the Aikido and the locks and everything.
Yeah.
Jean-Claude's kicks and how he kicks and everything, even today, it's just phenomenal. So when I hear people talking about this or that or the other, I'm like, you know, I didn't experience any of that stuff you're talking about. And, you know, these guys are top-class martial artists.
Absolutely.
I don't know what these people are talking about.
Your experience is not everybody's experience. You know what I mean? And that's amazing. What did you learn from them? Like just you know, just as far as the arts as well as just being in the
preparation.
Movie. Yeah.
From Steven or from Jean-Claude?
All of them.
Well, I tend to learn from everybody because I just have an open mind. And I kind of like, I could be sitting in a room not saying anything, but I'm seeing and hearing and watching everything.
Yeah.
I mean, in a good way. I mean, trying to learn.
Like the student of the game.
Sucking it in.
So what did I, you know, from Jean-Claude, I learned how to kick, how to stretch. He's very good at stretching, very good at kicking. You know, from Steven, you know, I just learned the effectiveness of those Aikido locks and, you know, the way he would apply them. I mean, it was impressive. He had me tied up at one point, and you know, it was a demonstration now. But he had me tied up. I could feel everything hurting that was supposed to be hurting. You know.
Yeah.
So I mean, I learned a lot from Jean-Claude about movies and stuff as well, about making movies and how the business works and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
You know, so you know, you learn a lot from people. I find if you're pretty straightforward and you can build trust with people, there's no problems, and you learn a lot, because most people, whether you're a movie star or whether you're a random guy walking down the street, we're all the same. Yeah. You know, I mean, what do we want? We want to be able to trust the person we're talking to.
Yeah.
You know, and not have to worry about if I say something. I believe that, you know, my experience with a lot of people is you might say something and then when they repeat what you say, but they don't say it, the context is very important in how a message is relayed to somebody.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And that's one of the problems we have in society. Somebody says something and then someone else repeats it, but it's out of context.
Mm-hmm.
And that can be good and it can be bad. It just depends on what we're talking about. So I just find that, you know, with most of these people, if they're comfortable with you and you don't, you like, some people just repeat stuff for the sake of repeating stuff, and that's kind of that's just bad anyway. I mean, what's the point? What's the point? I mean, unless it's going to like make the world better and make the situation for somebody better, what's the point? A lot of people just repeat stuff because they want to put themselves up on a pedestal or something. And most of the time, they just cause problems and trouble for people. You know, and look, we're all. How many times have we had a situation where we say something, and maybe we shouldn't have said it, but a lot of the time we say something and then it gets repeated, but it's not how we said it or what we said.
It's taken out of content.
It's taken out of context. Context is very important, and
very important.
The thing is, before we should analyze or adjust what someone says about us or to us, we have to understand the context, and more importantly, when you kind of, if you can figure out what the intention is. You know, we have people in our lives that say good stuff all the time, and that's all great. Then you have some people that just say bad stuff, but they're not necessarily saying it to get somebody in trouble. They're just saying it because, you know, I don't know. You know, I'm trying not to say anything, you know, bad, but it's like
address the culture.
Yeah,
you know, they're just not. They're not thinking about what they're saying. They're just repeating it, and then, you know, you kind of know when somebody says something if their intention was, well, they go, "Oh, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that," or well, they messed up, but their intention,
it's coming from a good place. You know what I mean?
Their intention was not coming from a place of malice.
Absolutely.
So a lot of the time, more importantly than what comes out of someone's mouth, is you have to figure out the intention behind it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And that's I think where we fail in society, by the way. I don't think we analyze that enough.
Yeah.
I think we just, somebody says something and then they're taken for, oh, he said that, he's a bad person. Or then they repeat it, and then of course the story gets, you know, it just changes.
It's blown up. Yeah.
You know, it gets blown up, and I think that causes more problems. So I think, you know, when you're in the limelight and stuff like that, it's very difficult because I'm not in the limelight. I'm talking about movie stars. When you're in the limelight, it's very difficult. You have to watch everything you say.
Everything you say and do.
You know, and you have to, you know, it's not easy. So a lot of the time that's
around
a pressure.
you.
And it's
it's constant criticism.
Yeah, it's constant criticism.
But there's a pressure, and it's like a gasket there. And sooner or later, that thing kind of pops. You know?
Pops, yeah. Your expectations of privacy are always being challenged. You know, by the paparazzi, the media, reporters. That's people trying to get the dirt and scoop. That's what people with the new social media, the gossip. Everybody wants to gossip on stuff.
Yeah. Well, the thing is with any kind of type, whether it be a text, an email, or a social media post, is that it doesn't have a personality.
Yep.
So it's very hard sometimes to know what somebody really means by what they're saying sometimes, you know? I mean, there's other times you know exactly what they're saying, of course, depending on the situation. But the problem is, I've received texts from people in the past, and I'm like, oh, what does he mean by that? I mean, is he being a smart aleck about that? Is there, you know, whereas at least if it's happening verbally, man to man, you know exactly where it's coming from.
Yeah.
So, you know.
And that's huge, you know, for the culture, you know. So, and then
the whole social media, you know, and all eyes on people. Say, for instance, this platform, you know, address the culture. It's freedom of speech to talk about,
to address the culture.
Yeah, our culture, our martial art lineage, you know. And James, what you shared with us, you know, today about where you came from, you know.
That's huge.
Your training methodology in your mind, your mentors, who inspired you, you know. That's awesome to hear from so many different people that have been on the show, you know, sharing their martial knowledge, who their teachers are. And the whole makeup of this show, which represents legacy, is exactly what you exhibited today, mentioning your teachers, Sifu Inosanto, you know, Darling. And, bro, thank you for sharing. Thank you
and
for
just
sharing.
a quick one before we go, you know, because I don't want to leave anybody out. I mean, you know, Guru, Ed Downey.
Yes.
Yeah. And Dan, you know, nobody I would have. I can't have more respect for anybody. These two guys are just mountains, and You know,
wait a minute. We got to make sure it's clear. Say it again.
Say it again.
You was breaking up a little bit.
You broke up.
Ed Downey and Danny Nosanto are my two primary instructors, and they're just mountains of men. They're mountains that I hope to one day be able to climb. Yes. And of course, I have other instructors, you know, like Joe Tan, you know, Leo Gahe, Virgil Cavada, and of course in Wing Chun I have Samuel Kwok, and then Kun Kamai, Cambodian boxing. I have Kru Ratana, and they're all fabulous people too. So I didn't bring them up earlier because I thought I didn't know if I was limited to a time, but they're all fabulous people, and you know, I just wish that one day I can reach the heights that Ed Downey and Danny Nosanto and my other instructors have accomplished, and I hope to one day be as kind as they are, and be as nice, and be as good. And you know, I just look up to these people, and I'm very happy that they're in my life, because I really do think, you know, people are supposed to come into your life, no matter whether it's you go to them, they come to you, you bump into them. I don't believe in coincidence. I think everything happens for a reason. It's like Grandmaster Darren, when you and I met, you know, I mean, I believe all that was meant to happen. That wasn't. I don't believe in coincidence. Some things are too great to be just coincidental, to just happen.
Yes.
You know, I was very happy to be able to come to Stockton with Guru in August 2019, and then come to you in December. And then we'll talk about, now that things seem to be somewhat normal again.
Yes.
You know, we're going to talk, and we'll have some fun. Yeah.
Well,
I'd love to have you down with your guys down at my place and stuff. That'd be fun.
I hope the video series, you know, you're still watching them and checking them out. And it was great working with you, you know, in the past seminars, and the concepts that we were working, and you were grasping the concepts very well. And I can't wait to work with you again, man. You know, it was a privilege. You know?
We talk, guys. It was my honor to be here. I thank you greatly for having me on. P.stock, Big Wall, Darren.
Hey.
And we'll talk again in the future, I guess.
Yes, we're going to spin the block. You're welcome back, man. This is Address the Culture. You know, come on, Address the Culture. Somebody get on and let them know about it.
Thank you for giving us your time.
Thank you for coming in, man.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Guys.
All right, guys.
All right, James. Thank you, sir.
Bye-bye.
Man.
That was a great show.
Come on, man.
A lot of information, a lot of, you know, even with the little technical glitches, you know, you can't help it. Show goes on, the information, you know, to learn about his travels from Ireland, you know, from Trim, you know, where they shot the Braveheart film. That's great. You know, I mean, he came a long way. And he's on the right path. I'm sure his mentors are proud of him.
Absolutely. Keeping the lineage going, taking it to heights that people only dream of. You know what I mean? Like
yes, sir.
He said he's not in the limelight. He's just being humble. He don't even consider himself somebody who has achieved a lot, but he has. You know what I mean? And that's something that has to be acknowledged. And it just shows you how dedicated he is to not just making himself, you know, the star or anything. It's about the culture. It's about the knowledge. It's about the wisdom. Just like T-Bone. You know what I mean? T-Bone out here every year bringing the legacies to different places.
Legacy 9.
Giving knowledge, bringing people on to receive their flowers. And that's what we here to do here on Address the Culture.
That's right. Legacy 9, September 3rd, Circus in Las Vegas. Huge event. Gotta be there if you can. It's limited, so you gotta get your tickets now.
Come on, man.
So you gotta step up, get them now. Those things are going. They're going. You know, they'll be gone soon.
We got ours. You better get your tickets.
Yeah, we got ours. You better get yours. They said you better get yours.
Yeah,
we got ours.
You already know the vibe. So until next week, We're going to be back with the same type of vibe, same type of energy, giving you news you can use. Like, share, comment, leave a message for me or Pstock. Tell us how you feel about the guests. Tell us about some people you might want us to bring on the show to address the culture, because you know we ain't ducking no smoke. You know what I'm saying?
Ducking no smoke.
So like I say, man, I'm your boy Big Wall.
I'm your man Pstock, right here.
And this is Address the Culture. And like I always say, your culture makes you who you are, so make sure they respect it. We're going to catch you on the next episode. We up out of here.
Peace.
Come address